Hey y'all, so I wanted to make a video because a couple of people have asked me if I'm going to teach classes anytime soon, and I'm not because I'm ingesting more information, not on magic and ritual, but more so on culture and history, um, which does influence, one's practice. But as I'm ingesting more information, I don't feel comfortable teaching at that same, you know, in that same space, but I wanted to give some free information for navigating these hoodoo streets. Number one being, a lot of people will tell you you cannot learn hoodoo from books. And I want to amend that and say you should not only learn hoodoo from books. You should learn from teachers. You should learn it from other practitioners, your family, if that is an option, if they are, shareable of information and knowledge. But most black families aren't. Let's be real. And that's still okay. But you can learn it from family history. And also your intuition and your ancestral connection when that gets more clearer for you. But going back to books, when you're starting out, some of the books that you should stick towards are books by black authors, especially in the beginning, especially when you were starting out in hoodoo, because a lot of non-black and white authors, when they write on hoodoo, they twist the history of blackness so that it fits a narrative for marketeer hoodoo. And authors that you should stick towards are black authors like Zora Neale Hurston, like Katrina Hazard-Donald, like Michelle E. Lee. Of course, all skin folk and kinfolk. But when you're starting out, stick towards authors that give you a full context and a accurate portrayal of black history and the culture around hoodoo. I mean, hoodoo is black culture, but stick towards authors that give that instead of route information of spells and formulas and stuff like that. When you go through books that are like mostly just giving them spells and information, more times than not, a lot of the time those things don't work, and a lot of the time it's a lot of the information there is inaccurate. Some of those books I ran into in the beginning of my practice, and I had to go back and unlearn and then read the proper books and ingest more information. So it's much better to start from the proper place and get accurate information, and that will feed your practice, and that will help you with discerning what sort of books you that are going to be worth your time and which ones you can steer clear from. And which websites and which people you should steer clear from, such as Lucky Mojo, such as Hoodoo Delish. Like, stay away from those that give out route information and detach from blackness, detach from the culture of hoodoo. Again, hoodoo is a culture, but you get what I'm saying, right? Two, when you are learning about roots and herbs and things like that, somebody asked, what are some good roots for something? And this is not an easy answer to give, but it's the answer that I would have given myself back in the day, like 10 years ago, when I was starting to learn root work. Instead of going out and buying these books with, encyclopedia of magical plants and all these different correspondences and trying to figure out what can do what in a spiritual sense, build off of your own intuition. I know that sounds like, that's gonna take forever, but I was at a plant conference last year and this woman said an amazing quote. I don't know if it was from her. I think she said it was from another source, but she said, when you name a plant, you kill it. And what that meant was, when you say what a plant can do, and she was talking about, more so in a healing context, but also in a spiritual context, when you say this plant can only do 1, 2, and 3. Well, now you've reduced it to 3 things that plant can do, when really there's a whole universe of things that plant can probably do, but you now deaden the conversation with that plant by only thinking that it can do those things, right? Like, if you only think that basil is good for money and making your home peaceful because that's what you read in a book or that's what you saw from route information from somewhere, now you've killed that conversation with that plant, and you're only going to hit up that plant for those things, and you're not going to respect it or, acknowledge it in any other ways. But if you work the other way and build off your own intuition and work that way, you have much more opportunity of exploration, of discovery. Yeah, you can double check and see, like, well, what's the rest of the world think about cinnamon, or what's the rest of the world use this thing for? But you should also work off of your own connections that you're going to create. And a lot of them are just going to be common, right? It's going to be common to use certain things. But a good way to do this is work with the plants around you. And I get it. I live out in the country. I got, hundreds and hundreds of plants to learn about and dive into. But even if you live in the city, work with the trees on your block. Working this way with understanding plants, you get to create a connection with place. And this is how you can develop talking to plants, listening to what plants are saying. If you're working off your intuition that way, and it's not always going to be audible, sometimes you're walking down the street, you touch a tree, and you might be able to hear a message from it. Especially if you live on a block where there's trees, even if they're planted by the city and they're not native to that area, these trees watch you every day. They see you come and go from your apartment. They know what you're up to, and they might have a word or two for you. Talk to them. Get to know the things around you. Get to know even the plants at the bodega that you pass by every day. Go and smell them. Even if they're always changing, right? Just create a connection. These are things that are around you. So you need to open up yourself to creating connections to those things, and then keep a journal. You might pass by a bodega that has, beautiful roses every day. Well, what do you ask yourself while you're walking? Smell the roses and then think about, well, yeah, I think about romantic things when I see roses, but, not just love, drawing in love, but maybe you think, well, roses have walls kind of like onions do. And onions, I know, are used for protection a lot of the time. Well, maybe roses can be used to protect my love and protect my relationships and ensure that, things aren't being thwarted against me or my loved ones. Work off of those connections. Ask yourself these things. It's a much better way to understand plants, and it becomes a much better connection in your work versus you ingesting a lot of information like you're in school and you're just trying to cram it all in. 3, don't be so quick to get a title. I'm not trying to call nobody out, and I respect people who have gone through initiations and are in houses and all that stuff, but in the age of Instagram, in the age of Facebook and YouTube and social media, a lot of people are quick to run and get an initiation done, and you lose so much when you skip over the freedom of discovery. The phase where you just get to explore things on your own. You get to make sense of spirituality on your own. Right or wrong, you get to make those mistakes. And there's a lot of good in that season. And you could say in this season your whole life. Back in the day, there are conjure folk who never went through any ATR initiation. Maybe there was a hoodoo initiation that they went through that was personalized to maybe their family or personalized with their connection with spirit, and that looked very specific, like spirit gave them instructions of how to initiate themselves, But don't run to get a title just because you go on other people's pages and you see, well, they're this, 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 and this. Well, I'm not going to be anything until I get, these titles. Don't feel like you have to be, don't feel like you're in a rat race to get titles. because on the flip side of things, not saying all houses are like this, or not saying all like by all means, not saying all ATRs are like this, but there are some shady people in every tradition, right? And in some houses, in some places, there are people waiting for you to initiate. There are people waiting for the newbies to show up with, thousands of questions, no experience, and money in their pocket for title. They're waiting for you. They are ready to lay those cards down and say, yep, you need to initiate this year, and you need to pay us $10,000 or else, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. Clear your connection with your ancestors so that so that they can tell you when it's time to initiate. Don't let other people tell you that your ancestors told. Like, you need to strengthen your connection with your ancestors so that you hear it from them, versus somebody else telling you, well, this is what, make your connection crystal clear. And 4, this comes from a book that I was reading about Dr. Jim Jordan. It was a biography on him. Now, the biography was written by a white man who was slightly racist. So if you ever get this book on Dr. Jim Jordan, the first couple of chapters are a little rough because I'm glad the book is written, period, because there aren't many biographies on conjure people. And especially Dr. Jim Jordan being a millionaire conjure practitioner in North Carolina is huge. And I wish his name was bigger, but it does suck that it was written by a slightly racist white man. Not slightly, they're racist. Fucking racist. But the note from this book that I got that I want to share is enjoy the continuum of your journey because you are in this lifelong dance with spirit, with your ancestors, with your community, and where you are now is going to be different. Where you are now is different from where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, so on and so forth. I think for me, reading the whole lifespan of a person, of a famous, well-known, powerful conjure practitioner, put me in perspective of there is no fucking rush. I am in no rush to be at the peak of myself, right? Like, this man did not reach his peak until maybe his late 40s, where he had his sons with him running the business. Like, I'm talking cars, driving down, like from New York, New Jersey, Florida, all here to see this man, to get work done. Like, he was doing it all. He was one of those people that would show up at the courthouse, sit in the back, and the person gets off free. Like, there's no need to rush to get to where you want to be as a practitioner. Take your time. In social media land, everything feels like you have to be perfect at this. You have to be the best diviner. You have to be the best manifester. Take your time. You're gonna learn. If you don't give yourself time to learn, then how are you gonna actually get better? If you are always trying to be perfect, then you have no room to grow. You have no room for correction. Like, stagnant. Just breathe and give yourself time to grow. I feel like there's other biographies on other conjure people, are like Marie Laveau, maybe Caroline Dye. I don't know if there's a full biography on her, but if you can get your hands on these biographies, do so, because it helps to see, like, if you're a singer, you want to read a famous singer's full biography, because then you understand, like, okay, well, when Ella Fitzgerald was, working her thing out at this stage of her career, this is how she made sense of things, right? It helps. So with that said, I guess my overall point is take it easy. Don't rush. And enjoy this journey. Because it's personalized, it's unique, and a lot of the wins, maybe not everybody's going to understand. Like, maybe not everybody's going to understand when you create a connection to cinnamon that's different than everybody else's. That's a huge win. Maybe not everybody's going to understand when you view your divination tool in a way that's so unique that you couldn't even Google it, right? You made sense of it and it just flowed to you from spirit. That's awesome. That's a win. These personalized wins will happen for you. So don't compare yourself. Just stay in it. And that's all I've got. At some point, I probably will teach classes again or, whatever, but not right now. That's all I got. All right.